All right, hello. Okay, here we go. Oh dear. Let's analyze. I'm going to analyze this. The only word for it is just insanity, I guess. I'm not really quite sure what you'd call this. Um, Will Smith is getting jiggy with it. Um, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this from a different perspective, though. Because there's a whole bunch of people out there. You got one lot on one side saying it's fake, and then another lot on the other side saying this is real. And I think at this point, um, I mean, you can run back through this video and slow it down and look at it, and bits of it don't look right. And my initial first response to this whole thing was it was completely fake. Um, just the way, um, just the sound that hit made, or supposed hit. It's nothing right about it. There's nothing right about this whole situation. I mean, forget for a minute that we're at an event where um, people are blowing smoke up their own asses and they're so far out of touch with reality. Really, um, the whole thing is just madness. Really, forget that for a minute. Um, we've got people here that are just they're heavily deeply invested in part of the system that is it's it's just complete insanity, virtual insanity. Um, what do I really want to do with this? Really, I want to analyze it, but I don't want to go down the road of is it fake, is it real, and doing the arguments backwards and forwards, because we're kind of missing the point. If we start doing those arguments backwards and forwards, we're kind of missing the point of you cannot figure this thing out either way. Not 100%. Okay. Um, you might have a good idea that it's fake, but we can't say 100% that it is. All right. I know there'll be people arguing with me about this now, but the point that we're missing is the point that reality is trying to get across here is that this thing, you know, without being there, stood right here somewhere, right next to these two, and maybe having a camera on there so you can slow the whole thing down, and maybe having about 10 or 15 cameras all pointed in different directions so you can see what's really happening. There's no way of knowing. You cannot authenticate this at all, one way or the other. And so it's left up to only these two people here really know what happened. And again, you've got actors on a stage. Are they putting on a performance, or are they being real as somebody that lives in this fantasy world can be? It's just nuts. But the bigger picture is that we can't tell fact from fiction, yeah. And there's a whole bunch of people out there that get wrapped up in the argument backwards and forwards, and it's like, hang on a minute, you can't tell either. It's like the flat Earth and the globe Earth stuff, yeah. There's no real way of knowing either way. I've done that little trip down the rabbit hole there. This is just another one of these little trips. Okay, so there's really no point in analyzing it in conventional terms. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze what the setting is and what's actually, just at a basic level, what's going on symbolically here. Symbolically, that's the right word. I don't know. Or what I like to say all the time is let's look at the metaphor for what's occurring here. Okay, so the first thing we've got to break down is who we've got on the stage here. Okay, Chris Rock. Okay, Christ, The Rock, of God with this name. This is what's being portrayed here. This is not literally Christ, but there's a metaphor here, right? We've got to look at the set a little bit. We'll go over that in a minute. And we've got Will Smith. And the only Smith that I come up with is Agent Smith. So I've got Agent Smith right here, and I've got Christ, the Rock. Okay, we've got to remember that we don't want to get confused, because there's two rocks, right? There's the sun, that's one rock up in the sky, and then there's the moon, that's the other rock. Okay, we don't want to get confused with those two ideas, because of course the one rock coming in front of the other rock is a bad thing. Yeah, when we've got the moon that is shades out the sun, then we've got that, we've got the corona, the ring, and we've got the fiction controlling the whole situation, right? And that's a bad thing. Okay, so we don't want to get the rocks confused. But this is Chris here, yeah, and maybe he is still contained somewhat by the rock at the minute. Hence the name Christ Rock. But when we look at the set, well, before we look at the set, let's have a quick looky here at the I mean, just the smirks and the other thing that I thought when I watched it, I'm like, my wife showed me, I go straight away, I goes, that's fake, that punch, right? Well, whatever, it was slap or whatever. And then he does his little shouting thing, and I'm like, well, that looks actually pretty real there. But then I'm thinking, well, I don't remember Will Smith being that good of an actor. I don't know, You start asking questions. Here we go. This is a bit I want to be too. Let's look. Let's for 1 minute. Hang on, while we're on this dude here. It's interesting that the envelope is. I'm guessing that's what he's got here. Is the envelope, and it's red. That's interesting because and he's pointing out there towards these people, right? And I'm going to I'm going to tell you what they're representing here in a minute. Yeah, he's pointing with this red envelope. Yeah, when the Earth and the moon and the sun are in the correct alignment, when the Earth is at the center of that thing, is balanced, the envelope that surrounds the moon is the red envelope, is the blood moon. Okay, so we've got a nice little reference there. Chris is wearing blue, and he's got a long, what do you call that, long cut on his lapel there or whatever. So he's very, very, if you compare that with, we'll go back and compare it with, what's the name in a minute, with Will. Will is, I don't know if you can see it in that bit, but Will's is much tighter around the neck. Yeah. What this is indicating is this is like Elvis, with the big collars and everything. This is the head popping out of the Vesica Pisces here. This is the blue and the white of the Virgin Mary, and this is Christ. Yeah. He's wanting to pop out of the rock here. He's wanting to come out of that system. Okay, so I don't know if you're following along with this. I think it's interesting. Anyway, let's look at Will here a minute for a second. Oh, come on, I gotta get to this. Let's see if we can. Okay, here we go. Here's Will's. Look, Will is very tight around the neck here. Okay. Yeah, there's no, the Vesica Pisces hasn't opened up for Will to come out. Okay, he's well and truly stuck in the fiction. He's Agent Smith right now. We've got the right here on his. I don't know about this cursor, but right here on the tie. The tie is really weird as well. The tie is a very big black, almost like a cloak again. So he's got lots of extra bits of black in here. But we've got this white button on here that looks a bit like a pearl. Yeah, the black pearl. We've got the ring, the coronal ring here around the necktie. The tie itself is a representation of the noose around man's neck, the control system. You wear a tie to go to work. So we've got all these things going on with Will. He's clearly wearing black, of course, because he is well and truly under the influence of this thing, the Matrix. Yeah, she's got the green on. Yeah, the name Jade, the Jade, the green Jade. I mean, come on. I mean, this whole thing has to be a setup, doesn't it? We've got these huge, these earrings are ginormous, man. I mean, they look ridiculous. Um, you know, another moon reference, multifaceted diamonds maybe here. We got the diamonds in there, and just the size of these things. Look at them. Very, very interesting. I mean, this is. I'm no expert on fashion, but you know, I mean, the outfit. I mean, is it that great? I don't know. Anyway, let's not get into that. But we've got the green here. Yeah, she is the Matrix. You know, he's about to get up and slap Chris Rock, right, for some fictional words that he says. Yeah, right. So we've got this is, I mean, it's so interesting. We've got Will Smith protecting this thing. Yeah, we've got Agent Smith protecting the Matrix. Yeah, this is what cops do. You know, this is what all the people that work for the system do, including a lot of everyday people. You know, they back the system up with their you know, their nonsense ideas. But this is what happens, right? They're basing their whole way of living on complete fiction, i.e., they're willing to go and hurt another man, they're willing to go and harm another man, which is evident in the legal system right now. A cop is willing to go and harm another man over a piece of fictional work, yeah, over some language. And breaking natural law over that thing is not quite right. It's interesting here as well. We've got this old girl in the background here with the gold and the diamonds sitting back behind these two. No, I've not really thought about this too much, but I just thought that's just worth mentioning that she's there, and she's in the background. Yeah. What really should be happening here is Will Smith should not really have all this nonsense on, and she should be sat here, and because I think this is kind of representation, or is kind of a representation of the sun, and you know, the moon may be in balance here. You know, the idea of these diamonds within the sun here. But she's in the wife position right now, and not this gal. So she's in the background. Anyway, what more do I want to say about it? Let's just go up to the. So this whole thing, right? He walks up and slaps him. Yeah, okay. What's interesting is, let's look at where he's going from and to. I had a better picture. Where's a better picture of this? Let's see what's going on. Because everything happens backwards in this, you know. I mean, the shouting. I mean, if Will was that upset, the shouting would have come first, you know. And what else did I think was a bit odd about it? All the people in the audience that can only assume that that was real, and they kept on sitting there, and they didn't get up and leave in disgust at this guy being left there. And the fact of the matter is, if him and his wife, if Will and Jada were that upset about what this dude said, why didn't they just get up and leave? You know. But again, we're back to the idea of Marty, and we're back to the this physical response brought on by a fictional thing. Yeah, some words. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, here's Chris Rock, right? And let's see if I can get to. This is what I want to get to here. Let's see. Come on. Oh, here we are. Yes, this is where we want to get to. Because Chris Rock stood over here somewhere, I think, when this is going on. And Will Smith gets up and comes along here and slaps him and then walks back down wherever he's sat. And let's look at the set, right? So we've got Chris Rock stood here, right? And this is the eye, yeah? The Vesica Pisces, the eye. The Oscars, yeah, the Oz, the Osiris, and the car. Yeah, that's talking about the fiction and resurrection of the fiction. But we've got the Vesica Pisces, the eye, yeah, the center of the eye, and that is where this staircase is leading down to, yeah, into the fiction. The staircase, the false stairway to heaven, right, the one that man builds, is that's where it leads to. Actually, leads the false heaven leads down into the abyss, yeah. What's interesting about it, though, is Chris Rock stood here, and when he gets ready to take the slap, he's poking his head forward. Yeah? That is very, very interesting that he sticks his head out. Yeah? It's like his head's starting to poke out, like he's being born. Right? So this thing is the fictional mother, yeah? And over here we have kind of the externalized physical form of the moon, yeah? We've got another moon down here. This would be the moon as well, but we've got another version of it here, a smaller, what I would say is this is the physical manifestation of this idea here. And so we've got Will Smith coming from this point, from the physical moon, yeah? Because this looks like the shape of the moon, yeah? So coming from the physical moon and trying to slap Christ back into the fiction. He doesn't want Christ, Jesus, to be reborn, right? And that's the maybe the symbolism there. So it's very interesting anyway. And the other interesting thing is when he does his little shouting episode as well, right? And this whole thing with the keep my wife's name out of your mouth, to put it politely. There's a little hint there to what Jesus, what Christ, yeah, Christ isn't going to utter those words. Christ isn't going to embrace that thing, yeah? Not to embrace the fiction again in that way, yeah? Keep the fiction out of your mouth, yeah? Does that make sense? When we start talking about the fiction, when we start talking about ideas and laws and all those man-made things, I'm talking about the legal system laws now. Don't utter those words. Christ cannot utter those words. The true Christ will not say those words. And Chris Rock says, "No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to mention you," or something like that. So it's all very interesting. The whole situation here. I don't know what I've missed out of this, but I thought I'd do that video. I mean, I there's a lot of people that are just arguing backwards and forwards, and the point is you cannot authenticate anything, especially not from this. I mean, even the people in the crowd here can't see really what's going on. I mean, they're far enough back. So to be able to authenticate that whole situation is just almost impossible. Like without a million cameras, like I said, you're never going to get to the bottom of it unless they tell you what happened. And then you've got to believe two actors, two con men, basically, that earn their living, conning people. So You know, what more to say? I think I've covered everything. I don't think there was anything else I really wanted to cover. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm going to leave it there. All right. I hope you enjoyed a slightly different take on things. You know, what I would say is that in final closing here is that you have to assign, and this is where some of the truth people have actually got a good point, is when they call something fake, an outright fake, even if it maybe is not outright fake. But the problem is this whole situation is so fake. The whole thing is so orchestrated anyway. It's so far from, natural reality that it is fake, you know. And when you have an element of a situation that is questionable, and when you cannot authenticate the facts 100%, you have to assign that thing to the fake pile. You have to. You can't assign a belief to that. That's maybe the takeaway from this. Even if there is elements of truth in there, which you can pick out those nuggets and you can interpret those nuggets how you feel that you ought to interpret them. But the problem is the whole situation has to be deemed fake, just from the standpoint that it cannot be proven. You have to leave it in fictional land. So, I mean, that's the takeaway. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on another one here pretty soon, hopefully. And all the best, and God bless, and all the rest of that good stuff. All right, cheers, bye.